Once upon a time, in the beautiful city called Akom, there lived a young lady called Chioma. Chioma was a very successful hairstylist, and her shop was always filled with many customers who wanted to fix their hair. Chioma was so popular that many women would need to book an appointment with her if they want to have their hair done on time. Everyone believed that Chioma was a great hairstylist, but unknown to them, there was something evil which Chioma did to attract customers to her shop, and that was why her business was booming. Chioma was harboring a very deep secret, and her deep secret will shock you and teach you never to envy anyone's success. It happened that 3 years ago, after Chioma finished learning a hairstyling skill in the village, Chioma came to Akum City from the village to find a better life. With the little savings she brought with her, she was fortunate to rent a shop on a popular street known as Ukwe, which was occupied by many hairstylists. However, there was massive competition in Ukwe, and most customers already have a personal hairstylist. So it was very difficult for Chioma to find her own customers or make sales. She would usually call out to ladies who are passing by to come and make their hair, but they will ignore her and rather go to her neighbor's store. Most women would prefer to wait at other salons until it was their turn, instead of patronizing Chioma. They all preferred the other hairstylists that they were used to already. This made Chioma very unhappy and depressed. The other hairstylists on the same street were mostly successful, and many of them have cars of their own. But Chioma was still struggling to get by, and this would usually make her sad. Chioma had a best friend called Ekene. Ekene was also a hairstylist, and the two women learned the skill from the same master. However, unlike Chioma, who was still struggling to make ends meet, Ekene was already very successful just 2 years after they both left the village. Ekene had her own shop in a different town, but she would always come from time to time to check up on Chioma. Whenever Ekene visited Chioma at Akum City, Chioma would always complain about how low sales were and how difficult business was. She would often lament about the growth of her business and compare herself with the other ladies on the same street with her. Why is my own business different? I've been here for 2 years now, and I'm yet to have my own car and build my own house. Look at the other women. They all have cars and houses, but I'm still struggling to feed myself. Chioma would often plead with Ekene to help her and share some secrets of how she became successful, so that she would be also successful in the business. Please, Ekene, help me. I've been at the shop for 2 years, but I'm yet to become wealthy like the other women. There must be something they are doing that I don't know about. I'm tired of living this way. How did you even buy a car and build your own house in such a short time? Don't forget we both serve the same master. Please, tell me the secret behind your success. But each time Chioma begged Ekene to help her, Ekene would try to persuade her to be patient. Chioma, there's no secret, it's just luck. I am lucky to find a shop in a very good location. Please, don't rush life. These women you see here, they've built their business over the years. You are just a newcomer. You are barely 2 years in this business. Calm down and relax. Don't get too worked up. With time, you will also be like them and build your customer base. Please, don't be in a hurry to make wealth that you might live to regret. However, Chioma was stubborn and would continue to beg Ekene to help her whenever Ekene came to see her. One fateful afternoon, Ekene came to visit Chioma and met her crying inside the shop. She was very hot and depressed. Ekene was suddenly moved by Chioma's situation. She told Chioma to stop crying and promised Chioma that she would help her become successful. Ekene went to close the door to Chioma's salon so that no one would come in. She dipped her hand inside her bag and brought out a strange polythene bag. The black polythene bag had a picture of a skull drawn on it with white paint. She gave the strange polythene bag to Chioma with her left hand and instructed Chioma to collect it as well with her left hand. Whenever a customer comes to your shop to style her hair, use scissors and cut a little of her hair so it drops to the ground. When you close the salon in the evening, sweep your salon and secretly gather all the hairs into this polythene bag. Make sure you do not put them into another polythene bag first. You must put the hair first into this polythene bag that I have given you. And make sure no one sees you as you are doing this. Then meet me at the location I just sent to your phone. Chioma was confused at first. She was shocked at what Ekene asked her to do. She had no idea that Ekene was into diabolical things. But she collected the strange polythene bag just as Ekene instructed her and hid it inside the salon. Some minutes after Ekene left, Mrs. Ifeanyi entered Chioma's shop to style her hair. Mrs. Ifeanyi was one of Chioma's frequent customers who preferred Chioma's shop over the other women. She was married to a very wealthy man and had 3 beautiful children. When Mrs. Ifeanyi sat to fix her hair, Chioma remembered the instruction that Ekene gave her, and while she was fixing Mrs. Ifeanyi's hair, she intentionally cut some of her hair just as Ekene told her. A few other customers came into her shop to fix their hair, and Chioma also did the same thing she did to Mrs. Ifeanyi. When Chioma was done for the day, it was already getting dark. She locked her shop from the inside and carefully swept the floor of her salon. When she was done, she gathered all the hairs of the customers she attended to that day and packed the hair inside the strange polythene bag that Ekene gave her. Chioma waited until it was very late that night, when all her neighbors had closed for the day and there was no one left in the streets. She sneaked out of the salon, looking left and right to be sure that no one was watching her. When she was sure that no one was looking at her, she boarded a taxi and showed the taxi driver the location where Ekene sent her to bring the hair she gathered. As the taxi driver was driving, you could see Chioma at the back seat of his car through the little mirror in front, and he noticed how nervous and unsettled she was. So he asked her, "Madam, are you sure you are alright? The air conditioner is on, but I can see that you are sweating." "I'm fine. I just had a very stressful day. Please just focus on the road and be fast," Chioma replied. The taxi driver continued driving down the highway until he got to the location which Ekene sent to Chioma. When they got there, it was almost midnight. However, the taxi driver couldn't continue the journey because the pin on the map was inside the forest. The taxi driver looked back at Chioma and asked her, "Are you sure this is the correct location? This is the middle of nowhere and this forest is very dangerous and filled with many wild animals." Chioma told him not to worry about her. She paid him and came down from the taxi. Immediately she came down, the taxi driver sped off in fear. He felt Chioma was a witch or a ghost. It was a lonely road and there were hardly any cars. Chioma removed her phone and switched on her torch. She strongly held the black polythene bag which contained the hair of her customers and entered into the forest, using her phone's torch to see properly. As she followed the map on her phone to the exact location that Ekene sent her. The forest was very quiet and cold. The only sounds Chioma could hear was the noise of little animals and insects inside the forest. When she had walked and walked for miles, she wanted to give up, turn around and go back home. But she built courage in herself. I can't go back after coming this far. I have to become wealthy just like the other women in this business, no matter what it takes, and nothing will stop me. After saying this to herself, she continued walking down the path into the forest. The deeper she went, the stranger the noises that she heard. She started hearing the cries of babies and the laughter of women. This made her very, very scared. She placed the strange polythene bag under her armpit and clutched it tightly, but she didn't go back. Suddenly, she saw a very big snake in front of her. The snake had red eyes and it also had beautiful scales. Chioma became very scared. She wanted to run away, but as soon as she turned around to run, she heard Ekene's voice. "Don't run away, Chioma. It's me, your friend. I won't hurt you." Chioma couldn't believe her eyes and her ears. She felt she was dreaming and was confused. When she turned around again to look at the snake slowly transformed into Ekene right in front of her eyes. "How did you do that, Ekene? Are you a witch? What are you?" Chioma asked her with her eyes widened in fear and horror. It was the first time in her life that she would see an animal transforming into a human being. But Ekene ignored her questions. She told Chioma, "You said you wanted to be rich and wealthy like the other women. Then you should be ready to sell your soul and do what they did. Follow me. Let me take you to the grandmaster. I hope you brought the hair I asked you to bring." Chioma nodded her head and showed Ekene the strange polythene bag under her arm. Then Ekene led her deeper into the forest. They walked and walked for a long while until Chioma could see a very big mansion up ahead inside the thick, scary forest. Chioma had a lot of questions to ask Ekene, but she was in shock, so she remained speechless. When they got to the mansion, it was very beautiful and decorated with beautiful flowers. Chioma looked at the mansion in amazement and wondered how such a magnificent mansion was built in such a hidden forest. As soon as they got to the gate of the mansion, it opened automatically and both of them went inside. Inside the compound of the mansion, there were very expensive cars, and Chioma wondered how the owner drives them in such a forest. As Ekene led Chioma inside the main house, she told Chioma, "I know you must have a lot of questions. I would answer all of them. But first of all, let me take you to meet the grandmaster." Chioma trusted Ekene, and together they entered inside the big mansion. It was more beautiful inside than it was on the outside. Chioma couldn't believe her eyes, as it was one of the most luxurious houses she had seen in all her life. However, inside the big mansion, there were a lot of chairs, and there were many women just like Chioma seated on them. Ekene led Chioma to sit down in one of the big chairs. "You can see that you're not the only one in search of wealth and prosperity. All the women you see here are here for the same thing as well. Just sit and wait. It will soon be your turn." One by one, the women went in to see the grandmaster, and a few hours later, it was Chioma's turn. And Ekene, her friend, led her to the secret room. As they got seated, an old man with white long beard entered the room where Chioma was waiting. His beard was so long, white and thick. He was wearing a red gown that was touching the floor. His face was scary and his fingers were very long. Chioma became scared, but Ekene asked her not to worry. The old man took Chioma into a small red room inside the mansion. In the middle of the room was a very big clay pot, and there were skeletons on the floor inside the small room. He collected the black polythene bag that Chioma brought and poured all the hair inside the big clay pot. Then he made some incantations and burnt the hair inside the pot. When he had finished burning the hair, he scooped the ashes and poured them inside a small plastic container and gave it to Chioma. When you get to your shop tomorrow morning, sprinkle all the ashes at the entrance of your shop and it will attract customers. But every 6 months, you need to renew the rituals or there would be consequences. Chioma thanked the old man very much. But as soon as she left the small room, she suddenly found herself at the road where the taxi man dropped her off. She became confused because she didn't know how she got there. It was very quiet and also very dark, and there were no cars in sight. Chioma held the small plastic container carefully and started walking in the direction of her house. She was all alone and scared. Suddenly, she started hearing some strange sounds from afar. As she continued walking, the sound became clearer. There were 3 women discussing up ahead on the road. Chioma became relieved that she was no longer alone. She went to meet the people who were discussing. But when they turned to look at her, Chioma realized that they had no eyes and nose, only a mouth. She became very terrified and started running. The 3 women chased after her, laughing like witches. Chioma ran as fast as her legs could carry her. But no matter how fast she ran, she could hear the women behind her. Luckily, she saw a taxi approaching her. She quickly waved it down and jumped inside. The taxi man was surprised. He didn't understand why Chioma was running. He couldn't see the 3 women, only Chioma could. "Drive fast, please. Drive as fast as you can. Don't let them catch me, please." Chioma screamed at the driver. The driver was confused, but he did exactly as Chioma instructed. By the time she got home, it was 3 a.m. already. Chioma couldn't sleep. She sat on a chair in her small apartment and began to think about what she just experienced. When it was 4:30 a.m., Chioma went to her salon before anyone else would arrive. She sprinkled the ashes just as the old man instructed and sat down in her shop, waiting to see what would happen. At exactly 7 a.m., 3 women entered Chioma's salon to fix their hair. They were new customers, and it was the first time Chioma would be attending to them. By the time she had finished fixing their hair, 6 other women were already waiting for her. Chioma was very happy. She smiled at herself because she knew that the ritual she performed was at work. By the end of the day, Chioma made more sales than she had ever made since she opened her hair salon. She was very happy and excited. She quickly called Ekene and narrated how beautifully her day went. However, Ekene didn't sound too happy to hear the news. Chioma felt Ekene was being jealous. She didn't know that Ekene was sad because Chioma had started something she could never finish. There was a price to be paid, but Ekene didn't tell her. Before Chioma arrived at the shop the next day, there were 5 women waiting for her already. Chioma couldn't contain her excitement. She doubled the prices of her services, but the customers continued coming. After 1 week, Chioma employed some workers to help her out at the salon because her customer base was rapidly increasing. In less than a month, Chioma was already a millionaire. She was earning almost 300,000 every day. One fateful day, Chioma was on her way home when she saw Mrs. Ifeanyi, her regular customer. Mrs. Ifeanyi, who used to have a car, was waiting on the road for a taxi, and this surprised Chioma because Mrs. Ifeanyi's husband was very rich. She stopped beside Mrs. Ifeanyi and offered to give her a lift. As she was driving, Mrs. Ifeanyi started crying. Chioma was touched by her tears, so she asked, "Ma, what is the matter? Why are you crying? I was surprised to see you standing by the roadside under the hot sun. What happened to your car?" "The next day after I finished getting my hair done at your salon, my husband's company collapsed and the bank froze his accounts. My children had an accident on their way back from school and none of them survived. We are currently living in a rented apartment and my husband is currently at the hospital. My life turned upside down in a matter of hours." Chioma felt really sorry for Mrs. Ifeanyi. She was one of her favorite customers who always left a tip for Chioma after getting her hair done. She gave Mrs. Ifeanyi some money before she dropped her off. But Chioma wasn't at rest after her encounter with Mrs. Ifeanyi. She began to ask herself if the hair she took was the reason why Mrs. Ifeanyi's life turned upside down. However, she dismissed the thought and continued on her way home. 2 months later, Chioma had built a very big house for herself. She was doing so well that she rented a bigger shop on the same street and employed many more workers. In 7 months, Chioma was very wealthy and popular. She was living like a queen. But one fateful night, Chioma was asleep when she had a very terrible nightmare. In the nightmare, Chioma saw herself seated in her salon. She was seated in one of the chairs, and suddenly she saw Mrs. Ifeanyi and all the customers whose hair she had used for rituals. Chioma tried to move, but she realized she was tied to the chair and was unable to move. Mrs. Ifeanyi and the other women approached and surrounded Chioma. Then they started pulling her hair. Chioma started screaming in pain and anguish, but they didn't stop until she woke up. When she woke up, she could still feel the pains on her head. However, Chioma felt it was simply a bad dream. She prayed about it and went back to sleep. The following night, Chioma had the same dream again, but it was even more serious than the first time. When it happened the third time, Chioma quickly called Ekene and narrated the dream to her. Ekene laughed at Chioma and reminded her that she was supposed to renew the ritual every 6 months, and 7 months had passed already. The next day, Chioma quickly went to visit Ekene at her town. She asked Ekene for the strange polythene bag where she would gather the hair of customers for her to renew the rituals. Ekene laughed heartily at Chioma. "Polythene bag? Hair of your customers? That was only the first part. You would need more than that for the second ritual." Chioma became very confused. She didn't understand what Ekene was trying to explain to her. "What do you mean by that? What do you mean that was the only first part? What do I need to do to renew the rituals and stop these painful nightmares?" "For the second part of your rituals, you need to shave the hair on your head, your armpits, and your private parts. Then bring them to me at the same location we met that night. So I will take you to the grandmaster to renew your rituals." Chioma's eyes widened at Ekene's words. She couldn't believe her ears. She became very upset and asked Ekene, "Are you joking? What do you mean I have to shave the hair on my head and my private? You didn't tell me this before now, and this was not what I did the first time. While Chioma was ranting, Ekene took off her hair scarf and kept it on the table. Then she removed her wig and also kept it on the table. Chioma looked at Ekene in horror. There was no single hair on Ekene's head. Her head was bowed, like that of a very old man. Chioma stopped talking immediately. She realized Ekene also did the same rituals. It's either you renew your rituals or continue to suffer the nightmares every night. When you are ready, give me a call and meet me in the forest at midnight. Chioma went back home feeling very scared and terrified. She had no idea that things would get this complicated. She couldn't imagine shaving her beautiful natural hair. Instead of doing as Ekene asked, she stubbornly refused to renew the rituals. But as time went on, the nightmares started becoming more and more frequent. Chioma became scared to sleep. It was then that she decided that she was going to do what Ekene told her to. She shaved the hair on her head and private and met Ekene in the forest once again. When she saw Ekene, she was a snake as before. Then she transformed into a human being. Chioma wanted to ask her why she was a snake, but she foolishly decided that it wasn't her business. The grandmaster helped Chioma renew her rituals, and the nightmares stopped instantly. Chioma started making more money than she used to make when she did the first ritual. She opened many branches of her salon and she was making millions every single day. In a matter of time, she forgot about the rituals once again and continued enjoying the wealth. Chioma met a very handsome man called Emeka and they got married. But Emeka didn't love Chioma. He only married her because of her money. 1 month after they got married, Chioma became pregnant. When the pregnancy was 3 months old, the nightmares started again. In her dream, Chioma would find herself tied onto a chair inside her salon. Then Mrs. Ifani and the other women would start knocking her on her bald head seriously. Whenever she woke up, she would start feeling severe pains on her head with a serious headache. She realized once again that it was time to renew the rituals. But she was scared to meet Ekene because she did not know what the grandmaster would ask her to sacrifice this time around. However, when the nightmares were becoming too extreme once again, she went to meet Ekene and informed her that she wants to renew the rituals because the nightmares have started again. Chioma looked so scared and afraid when she met Ekene. Ekene told her to come to the forest in the midnight so they would go to see the grandmaster and he would tell her what she needed to do to renew the rituals. At midnight, when they met the grandmaster, he did some incantations and told Chioma that she needed to sacrifice her womb and her baby to renew the rituals. Chioma couldn't believe her ears. She told the grandmaster that she cannot sacrifice her womb or her baby. The grandmaster laughed at her ignorance and asked her, "Didn't you wonder why your best friend isn't married yet? Haven't you wondered why she has no children and why she's always roaming around the forest every night as a snake?" Chioma felt betrayed by the grandmaster's words. She felt Ekene had betrayed her. She turned to Ekene and told her, "If you had told me about all this, I wouldn't have started at all. I would have continued managing my small business patiently." "But I told you to be patient," Ekene replied. "I warned you not to be in a hurry to make wealth, but you felt as though I was being wicked and you thought I didn't want you to succeed. Didn't I warn you?" Chioma knew she was in trouble. She couldn't imagine herself losing her baby and her womb. She told the grandmaster to take back all the wealth, but the grandmaster told her that it was too late. Chioma didn't have a choice but to sacrifice her womb and her baby. After what she did, she became a billionaire. She had a lot of money and influence, but she was not happy and she lacked peace of mind. 6 months went by very fast and the nightmares started again. This time, she would find herself in a graveyard with babies scattered all around, crying seriously. Then Mrs. Ifeanyi and the other women would surround her and start flogging her with a cane, mercilessly, chanting, "Baby killer, baby killer, baby killer." Whenever Chioma wakes up, she would see the scars and marks from the cane that she was flogged with, and all her body would be in pain. She ran once again to meet Ekene, and together they went to see the grandmaster. Chioma felt helpless because she had nothing left to give. The grandmaster did some incantations and told Chioma, "There's only one way to escape your nightmares. Every night, you will transform into an animal and roam the forest until the next morning. Animals don't dream, so the spirits of the women whose destiny you stole wouldn't be able to harm you." Chioma instantly understood why her best friend Ekene was always in the form of a snake whenever they meet in the forest. The grandmaster asked her to choose the animal she would like to transform to every night. And after thinking very deep about it, Chioma told the grandmaster that she would like to be a lion, so that all other animals would be scared of her and she would be safe. The grandmaster gave her a bead. She instructed her to enter the forest every night when she starts feeling sleepy and wear the bead. Once she wears the bead, she would transform into a lion. But Chioma didn't live beyond 1 week. One night, after she transformed into a lion, she was attacked by some hunters and killed in cold blood. Emeka, her husband, sold off her properties and ran away with her money, and no one knew what happened to Chioma. Some people said she was kidnapped, while some said she traveled abroad. But only Ekene, her best friend, knew what really happened. The moral lesson of this story reminds us to not be in a hurry to make quick money or wealth. Every legitimate businessman or woman started from somewhere and arrived where they are due to diligence and consistency. No matter how difficult things are, do not be tempted to meet the devil for assistance. There's always a part of the deal that he would never reveal to you until you have entered deep into his trap. Be mindful of the friends you keep. Some friends can lead to your downfall. Don't be too jealous or envious of other people's progress. It is better to ask them for guidance and tips instead of assuming that they did something bad or illegal to get to where they are.